Hey guys, welcome back to GG2G podcast. My name is Ruth, and I have some special guests for today's podcast video. Go right ahead and present yourself.
Hey, my name is Kevin Romero.
Hi, my name is Ciara Romero.
And today, we are going to be talking about godly relationships, guys. And one of the reasons why I have them here with me today is because, we have been having them for like about 2 weeks already. And I told them during the week that let's make a podcast video. Now, me and Ciara, we made a podcast video separately, but now we're going to be making a video with Kevin. He's a special guest right here. And one of the reasons why I chose him for this type of podcast video is because they are in a godly relationship. They're married, they're together, they're beautiful people. Like how they smile, you see how beautiful they are. So I'm really excited to be able to ask them questions today. I'm going to be asking them questions. Now, I will be collaborating a little bit with them, not as much because I'm not married, of course. This is just for the future. Hallelujah. For the presence of the Lord saying that. So, if you're watching this, I hope you enjoy it. And for whoever that's a couple, that's an adult, that's a youth that's out there that's trying to, have a relationship or trying to figure out how to do it right, you're watching the right video. Okay? You guys have anything to say?
No, I'm excited. Looking forward to it.
Okay, so let's start. I will have to start with the man because he's the leader of the house. And that doesn't mean that the woman is just below. It's just, that's how biblically we're speaking. So the first question I'm going to ask you is, how do you know that Ciara was a woman of God?
How did I know that my wife was a woman of God? I would have to say how she carried herself. Mm-hmm. So, godliness isn't something that you can just put on. It's not really like a uniform or a costume that you can just put on when the occasion best, fits itself. Mm-hmm. I guess the best way that I can describe it was when I first, met my wife. Not met her, but the first time we mm-hmm. actually started like hanging out. I saw her at the Port Authority. Mm-hmm. I still remember like the way she had her hair. Her dress, she was wearing like a brown dress that day. And
well, she's admiring it. She remembers. Oh my God. Yeah. Men, take notes.
Yeah.
Take notes. Okay.
But
look at her, she's
no, it's fine. Mm. But this does have to do with something with the question. Which is because I remember the feeling I got that I had when I saw her, mm-hmm. and it was like a
fairy tale movie.
That's one way to describe it.
It's like a win.
Not well. what I would describe it is like I just knew in that moment that this person was going to be like my wife, right? So. To go back to the question, it's how you carry yourself. Like in the Disney movies and stuff like that, when they're like announcing like the princess and before they come in, like there's like this moment where like the princess is like walking in, and what you pictured in your mind as soon as they announce that person, it's everything that she fit the description of. So. For her, it's as soon as like we started talking, getting to know each other, she met every single criteria. Wow. Just based on like communication, her conversation, her testimony, the way she held herself. I knew in that moment exactly that she was going to be my wife.
That's crazy because I like how you just like you were able to be that bold, because I'm gonna be honest with you, in this generation, if you see me quiet, y'all will understand why. But it's hard because, like, there's not a lot of men like that just be like, oh, the way how she walks, the way how she acts, the way how she speaks. Not a lot of men focus on that stuff. in reality you have to, when it comes to like you know, trying to get to know with somebody, and you know, being able to create that godly relationship, you gotta observe. It's all about discernment. It's all about seeing how they act, how they talk, and obviously no one is perfect.
Yeah.
But if you see the spiritual fruits, that's where the spiritual fruits comes in.
Yeah.
And that's what you're like basically trying to say. The way how she acted, the way how she was in that place, and she brightened the whole entire room. You know, those are spiritual fruits right there. So I love how you just said that only. You know, like, oh, the way how she walked, that's how I knew that she was a woman of God. And that's good. That's good. So for you, ma'am,
Yes.
Sierra, how do you know that Kevin is a man of God?
How did I know? Well, a lot of it, I'm gonna be honest with you, prayer.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, a lot of it was prayer.
So for him, it's like the way how you walk, the way how you acted. She was like, I need to pray about this man.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. At first, I wasn't a fan of him.
Oh.
No, that's
I was
very
not
true.
a fan.
That's
I thought he was
unfortunately very true.
crazy. He's like, I'm gonna marry you. You're gonna be my wife. I said,
Yeah.
one of those. Okay.
Yeah.
He's bold.
I said, okay, one of those. All right.
You thought that he was kind of delusional
Yeah, of course.
in the Lulu
Of course,
stage?
Of course.
In the Lulu stage.
But something I always, like, from my college years, I've always given people a chance. You can't be a Christian and say, God send me somebody, and you're saying no to every single person, because then you're gonna be alone. So when it came to him, I gave him an opportunity. I said, listen, we're just gonna be friends. I'm just gonna get to know you as a friend. You know, he felt a different kind of way.
Okay.
I did not feel that way.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yes, but I was like, okay, I'll be your friend, and we could pray about this.
Now, why you were holding yourself so much, you know, while getting to know him? Why do you have your, you know,
Like those feelings of reservation.
yeah.
Why did I have those feelings of reservation?
Yeah, because there's a lot of women that don't know how to.
Oh, because he's just my friend.
That's good.
Yeah.
And
But
that's
at the
why-
beginning, I told him he wasn't my friend. I said, you're my acquaintance.
It was.
Wow.
You have to earn to be my friend.
But not
Horrible.
a lot of women thinks like that though, because they all put their eggs in one basket real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a good chunk of it too is that, you know, like in today's society, I feel like we get that life is almost like, you know, another like crazy TV show where we can't distinguish, you know, like reality from a fantasy.
That's
you know,
true.
so it almost feels, because the things that we're watching, it's almost, it should line up with what we're living. So when people start like feeling those feelings of infatuation or, you know, like quote unquote what love, you know, in that moment, it feels like, you know, like it's supposed to be like a certain type of way already. That's not to say that she didn't feel those things, but I can speak to at the beginning of it. It wasn't that like, oh, like he's checking all these like boxes real quick. It's like before I start investing, it's a level of discipline and respect, not only for herself and her testimony, but also to like the relationship. It's like, hey, you know, things look nice and appear nice, but before I start throwing myself into this fully 100%, like I want to make sure I, you know, like this is really like God ordained, that this is really like, you know, like something I want to invest in, which is like why like we started talking like around like the end of March, beginning of April of 2018. And then that summer, I really believe was that time that we had together. You know, that time of like friendship that we developed where we were like praying and fasting every single week. You know, like, hey, like, is this somebody that, you know, that on her part, like, God, do you have this person in my life? You know, for me, it was different. For me, it was like, God, I know this is the person.
This is the person.
Yeah, and I need you to like...
That's faith right there.
Yeah, operate within her, operate within the situation, operate within the environment. Like do something orchestrated in a way where like I know this person is like just fully. I always told in the beginning that like you're like God's gift of grace in my life.
That's right.
If you had to describe like the evidence of grace in my life, I'm like, you're it.
Wow.
Like 100%.
And I love how he explained it too, because like he wasn't like how you say you weren't ignorant in that time. You were like not ignorant throughout the process, because there's a lot of men nowadays that'll be like, esta, like
Oh
Yeah.
no, wait. Let me like retract on that. I can't. I'm not selling like car insurance here. Okay. So with that, she would keep me humbled in that aspect.
Wow.
I was going like 1,000 miles an hour, as much as possible.
Yeah.
I look back at some of the things that I did because I was so afraid to lose her. It's
Yes.
like it's like I saw her and I'm like, this is it. This is a person, and I have to do everything and anything to like keep her. Like this person is gonna be here only for like a period, and then God's gonna be like, oh snap, my daughter, like, I gotta give her to like somebody else because this is the wrong person.
Because the person couldn't take care of her, right?
Yeah, even though that's obviously not the case.
And that's like, to be honest, like my parents, which which they are pastors, they always taught me that the man is supposed to pursue the woman.
Yes.
And it has to be that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, let me tell you something, and I'm gonna connect with you with the next question. It's hard to find, like for me as a girl, it's hard to find men that are willing to pursue the woman. It's hard. They're not probably willing to wait because they want to rush.
Settle.
Or they want to settle quickly, So, and if that comes like as a youth, that comes to like people comparing themselves to others. Like, oh, I see her getting a ring, I want that right now.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah.
You have a different process, you have a different plan. So this is the question I'm asking, because you said that it was all about prayer for you to be able to know that he was a man of God.
Yeah.
And how did you ask for confirmation, and how do you know that God answered that question for you, or that confirmation?
So first I went a lot by his character. So it was his character and prayer. One of the biggest things was we were what is it called? Like associates or whatever. I forgot the word I used before. Acquaintances. And then he became my friend. And then I let him know we are friends. So we are friends. We're not holding hands. We're not hugging up on each other. We are friends.
Come on.
You're not getting close to me. Because what that does is it sets a boundary of like, how are you going to react with this boundary? Because
so you were testing him.
Yeah,
Well,
every single step of the way, man.
Well, the thing is with the boundary and the friendship is it lets me know, God, what do you think? Because I can't just pray and then be, oh my gosh, and all up on
like proceeding into that. Like
I'm making an answer for God before God can even say anything at that point.
Exactly.
So making sure that I'm, yes, I admire his character. Yes, I like him, but I'm like, okay, you're being my acquaintance. Then, you get to be let me see like how you are as a friend.
Yeah.
And I would make sure like, we're only talking for 30 minutes. You're my friend.
Guys, she will actually set a timer for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And tell them why. And tell them why you
Because he
did
was
it.
my friend, not my boyfriend.
And that's good. Because I want you to be real. Because that's hard for girls to understand.
Because we'll talk on the phone for
We're too
hours.
easy. We're too.
We'll talk on the phone for hours, and we'll like. I needed to know if he really wanted this. I couldn't be ligera. I couldn't be easy.
Tú querías ver si él va a forzarse ahí como forzarse.
Yeah, because actually I've been in a Christian college, and I would pray with other guys and fast with other guys. And these guys already were friends within my college, and I would pray and do this stuff with them, and like they wouldn't last 3 months in praying and fasting. They would get upset. They would get. They just get very like, when are you gonna be my girlfriend? When are you gonna be my girlfriend? It was very like that. And so to answer your question, when you said how was my confirmation? What was that like? We were just friends, and I asked him. I said, hey, I'm gonna start. We were praying and fasting. We fast like once a week, and we would pray like every single day, like every night or every morning. Was it?
Both.
Every morning and night.
Wow.
Yeah, because you're gonna spend the rest of your life with somebody.
Yeah, you gotta see how that works.
So I was doing that. And I already knew my confirmation. So internally, between God and I had a confirmation. He was in the military at the time. Yeah. And he was already preparing me. He was like, hey, so I've been in North Carolina. How many years were you already in North Carolina?
I think about almost 3 years by that.
3 years. So he was already preparing me, telling me, hey, they're going to probably station me in Okinawa, Japan. Just letting you know. And so then I was like, oh, okay. So I was like, oh, we were just friends. So I said, okay, God, well, if you want me to be with this man, you allow him to stay in North Carolina 2 more years, which is not heard of. He would tell me that they can't really extend your orders for more years at that time. Like,
yeah, like it can happen, of course,
but it's very rare.
But
it's not very rare. But it was like I was already within that place. It was just normally they don't try to keep you in a certain area. So like the East Coast, for example,
So,
they don't try to keep you there for that long.
It was very rare. Well, I mean, I think it was.
For her, it
So it
probably
wasn't. So it was normal.
Yes and no.
Do you see what I'm saying?
No, I understand what you're saying.
Like,
it's not
guys, we're in a
Couples.
second. Pause. So you're saying if that's normal, then that's not a confirmation. It's normal.
Girl, it's too late. You're already in
Maybe
it.
fuck that. I want to know.
Baby, it's not that it's not unheard of, my love. It's normally they try to keep you within an area for a set amount of time. For me, I was in North Carolina for almost like 5-6 years.
We're still live.
Oh my gosh, please edit that.
That will stay there.
Oh.
Okay, but it was still confirmation because it
Okay,
worked.
well, backtracking. So, he was already preparing me, telling me, hey, I'm going to leave to Japan. And I said, okay, well, I told God in my heart and in my head, nobody else knew this. Nobody.
And that's the most important thing.
Yeah, nobody knew. And nobody knew I was getting to know anybody.
Oh,
That was
Yeah.
another thing.
that's a good
I
confirmation.
kept
Yeah.
my friendship, my acquaintance, my relationship was a secret. The only people that knew was my pastor, and just like the people that I consider family. So
Yes.
Ruth, and her family, and then and that was it really.
That's it.
Yeah, that was it.
People that were willing to like keep it in the low.
Yeah, but nobody in my church knew.
That's good.
Just my pastor.
Because it was spread out.
Yeah. So nobody in my church knew. And so I was praying. And so I told God, I said, if you want him far from my heart, you'll send him to Japan. If you want him close, you'll let him stay another 2 years, which is extended to what, from my knowledge, to what, because he's not supposed to be in North Carolina. Right. So with that being said,
What happened there?
So with that being said, one day in August, he randomly calls me and he tells me, hey, so I found out that they're going to keep me stationed in North Carolina for 2 more years.
That's confirmation, girl. You don't have to backtrack from that. That was a confirmation. He didn't know. That was the powerful part. He didn't know.
So when he told me 2 years specifically, I was like, oh, well, there's my
Now
confirmation.
you are in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you can't go back.
But here was the funny
Exactly.
part. I got my confirmation,
What?
but he didn't ask me out.
Oh yeah.
But eso se añade. Wow.
But I was upset. Because that's
Why are you
August.
upset?
Because finally I got una respuesta. I finally got a response.
Yo, she was-
So it was August. So fine,
Yeah.
I got my confirmation. It's August.
Espérate.
Yeah.
I'm going to over there. It's funny though because you know how she was really tough with him.
Yeah.
Well, the moment when she gets her confirmation, be like,
Every time
"Ahora,
I window.
now
Yeah.
you can start doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
That you were doing in the beginning.
Yeah.
What's interesting is this. We're both from New York, okay? I'm from upstate New York. She's from the city.
That's not. Shut up.
Exact. For another segment, right?
Let's just
Exactly.
put that aside. Let's put this.
Anyway, when I was stationed in North Carolina, she has family in Charlotte. So it was about a 4.5 hour trip from me. The interesting thing is, I don't even think like you consider me like, I think you consider me a friend at that point. I don't even know.
Yeah, no, you were still an acquaintance.
Still an acquaintance. So I would drive every weekend, like
Wow,
as soon as
okay.
as soon as work was over on Friday. Sometimes we would go early, sometimes it'd be late. But whenever it was like, I would leave after work and drive, and then go spend the weekend.
And
over
how
there.
long was it? The
It was-
drive.
It was 4.5 hours.
Man,
Going one way.
4.
Going one way. So
4
I
hours.
so sometimes like I'd have to be at work at 7 o'clock or 7:30. So sometimes I'm like sleeping late at night on Sunday to get there, Monday morning. But I say that because whenever she told me, hey, I got my confirmation, hey, like I know this is it, she went back to New York. So I couldn't even
Wow.
go drive to Charlotte to ask her out. I had to wait. I was like, I'm not about to do this over the phone or do it
Yeah,
through
of
text
course.
message.
No.
So like I waited from the end of August to November 22nd to ask her out.
Oh. And how do you feel with that process? You're like, okay, when is my time? I'll let that.
I was getting nervous because I was like, okay, he's taking a very long time.
Like, you feel like he was gonna be out of there or something?
At that point, I was like, oh, he don't.
I like that
Yeah.
because I like how you were like talking about how confident you were. Like, oh no, let's put it this way. I like how you were like, hey, we're friends, boom. But you were praying about something. You got your confirmation. Now you got excited, and from you being excited, you were waiting. And waiting is kind of like for us girls. There's some guys that are like that too.
Okay.
But for us girls, like when we feel like we got our confirmation and everything, we want everything right away.
Yeah.
And to be honest, when you really think about it, God was testing you.
Yeah.
He was testing you to see if you were willing to be like, pero cuando, when he's gonna ask me out,
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave this guy because he's not asking me out.
Yeah.
But the Lord wants to see if you were able to maintain and keep your confirmation.
Yeah.
There's a lot of girls that have received their confirmation, but they were not willing to wait for the other things to come. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So
That's
now, Yaakov, you said that, you told me last time, because we were practicing also, guys. We were practicing about this interview because we had to make sure. You were telling me that you didn't specifically ask for a confirmation. It was just the more of like how she acted and spiritual fruits that she had, right?
Yeah. This is.
And this is rare to hear from a man of God, though.
What do you mean?
Like usually they're like, I'm telling you from back in those times, like the Pentecostal times, the man has to really ask. And this is the Pentecostal man.
Yeah.
They'll be like, Lord, if it's her, if it's her, Lord, allow me to have another opportunity to speak with her father, or allow me to pray for her. They will ask the most weirdest confirmations.
Let me tell you something.
So why you didn't ask God for a confirmation?
I knew it was her.
Why?
Let me give you a little bit of insight for guys. For guys, it's different than girls. Guys, Christian, not Christian, a guy knows.
A guy knows when it's his
A guy knows when that's my girl.
Wow.
You ask anybody. You ask your parents. How long have they been married? 20-some years?
No, 30.
No, it was like 30 something.
30. You ask your dad, not your mom. You ask your dad, like what he felt when he first saw it. Not when he talked to her. Not with anything. Because when I first saw her, I'm like, that's gonna be my wife. When I went to talk, before I even talked to her, like I looked at her and I'm like, oh my God. Turn back around. I'm like, did she see me? And then I look back around. I'm like, okay, she did see me. You know, it's like.
So it's that type of feeling that you.
A guy knows.
Yeah.
Period. Because I look back at some of the things.
Can I say one thing?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. It was just like, I believe it's Rebecca and Jacob. It didn't take him a lot to figure out that he liked her.
Oh yeah, I know you're talking
He
about.
didn't take a long time. You know, he was willing to. He knew it wasn't Leah. He
It's
knew
like,
it was Rebecca.
Boaz and Ruth.
Yeah, it
Boaz
didn't
already
take.
knew.
Yeah, it wasn't. It didn't take a 1,000 years.
That's true.
You know, no matter even when he still worked for the father for Rebecca, and the father added on more years. It was still Rebecca,
which
it
is
didn't
crazy.
Change. It wasn't like, ¿sabe qué?
He was
I'll just
testing him.
He didn't go. ¿Sabe qué? Es Leah. I'm gonna go with Leah. ¿Sabe qué? It's some other girl over there. It didn't change for him.
Well, that's good though. I'm glad that you were able to say that because there's just a lot of men out there or young youth that are growing into this man of God and they don't know how to ask to God on if this woman is for me or not.
Of course, like I prayed that.
Yeah.
You know, I want to do things right. I want to know of His guidance. That wherever my life, the direction of my life goes, that I can have confidence that this woman is there, tailored to that direction. You know, so, but like in my heart, a guy just knows. And when he knows, there's nothing that he's not gonna do. I look back at some of the stuff that I was doing. Now I'm like, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
When I met her
y tú también, nena.
What did I do?
Y tú también. Tú estabas fuerte.
Yeah.
Wait, like for instance, her family, her parents are in New York, right? Her family that was raised her, took care of her, was in Charlotte. Like when I first met them, like I was like bugging. Like I drove to the Walmart to get groceries, and I'm like, I got to make a good impression because in my mind I'm thinking about like, yo, this person, I'm gonna lose them. You know,
Wow,
I'm like,
so
I'm
you
doing
did whatever that
I'm
was
doing
like.
again, but that's any guy, right? When a guy knows that this is like my person,
They will.
you know. So I was like getting groceries, buying cereal, buying milk, buying cookies, like buying an ironing board, ironing clothes because we're trying to go to service on Sunday. Like I was like tripping out. You know, I'm not saying like not to do that. I'm
Right.
saying it's like, you know, to dial it back and like a little bit.
And he also got an Airbnb.
Oh, that's one thing.
That's another thing too.
Wow.
Yeah. There's
So
none
this
of like
was
this
every-
like funny like little like oopsie daisy. She had her parameters and boundaries, and those things were like iron walls.
When you saw that, you were like, wow.
No.
Okay.
I was like, no, absolutely not. It was like something. Believe it or not, that's what attracted me to her even more.
That's what I'm saying.
Like she was like, for me, like I describe it like I was a fly. I was like just trying to land on her every way. She was
and
like,
she
a
had
fly.
the little like.
I was like, you know,
Get
every
off
time
me.
I was like,
And actually, it's funny, guys, because like behind the scenes, right? They'd be telling me, like, they'd be giving me advice and all that stuff like that.
yeah.
But it cracks me up because I remember that you drove 4 hours away, and I think you guys were together or not. I don't know if you guys were together.
We
that
weren't
time,
together.
right?
She was
Okay.
just my friend.
So you wanted to give her a hug because it was 4
Man.
hours away. You know what this lady did?
Well,
she was
that
like,
was in New York.
No,
That was in New
no, that was
York.
in North Carolina. It was in North Carolina, honey.
Was it?
Yep.
Oh, I don't even.
It was in North Carolina. It's okay.
So you pushed him, right, or
Yeah,
something? Yeah.
yeah.
She was like,
Yeah. It had just the boundary.
and that cracks me up because if it was
Man, she
me,
looked like a running back. She was just like,
but like,
No.
don't touch me. And he's like, dang, I drove
Yeah.
4 hours away to see you, but okay, I understand your boundaries. And to be honest, that's good when there's no problem when it comes to boundaries. And I want you guys to say that to these youths nowadays because they think that boundaries is lame. It's not lame. It's you're protecting yourself. You gotta understand that even the Bible says that the heart is very deceitful, and we gotta guide our heart. And not everything that you think that's good is good. So that's why I want the generation to understand that boundaries are good. They are good.
Your priority in getting to know any man of God is maintaining your relationship with your priority in getting to know a guy. Is maintaining your relationship with God. That has to be top priority.
That's right. That's right.
If that's top priority, meaning I didn't want to disrespect God and saying he's my friend, and then I have him hugging all up on me, kissing me on the cheek. You see, because I value my relationship with God
Wow.
above him.
yeah.
Come on.
So that was the most important thing. I didn't want God to see from the heavens, like, didn't she say talking to the angels, didn't she say they were just friends? I don't know, because she's hugging him and she's all over him, you see? And so a lot of youth get entangled in being friends, but then being all up on each other. And then when the confirmation comes, they're blindsided. They get blindsided. When the confirmation comes of this is not the person for you, they get heartbroken. And they're heartbroken because they're in the wrong place, doing the wrong things at the wrong time. There's a season for everything.
Wow.
There's a season for everything.
That's good.
And that time of you guys hugging and all that stuff, it'll come.
That's right.
But the problem is making the decision, making the decision physically, and then asking God. And you already committed to
You
something.
already made your own decision.
Yes.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's the
like-
problem.
It's like you're diluting your own word.
Wow.
So for her, it's like she says like, "Hey, we're doing this, and this stuff that I wasn't really like used to before."
Because you were used to like with the
It's
more
not even-
easier.
It's not even more easier. It's just like the boundaries that she would set up for me. I was used to like going like a million miles an hour, you know, because for me, I was so excited. I'm like, dude, this is great. She clearly feels the same way that I feel. She clearly is seeing what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
You know, like she must understand what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, and then like when I realize that I'm looking, or she's looking at a different treasure map, and it's not mine, I'm like, well, you know, whatever she said, she stuck to it. You know, she didn't compromise.
That's good.
Whatever she said, because at that point in time, that would just realistically, and this is for anybody listening.
Yeah.
That's just gonna mess up the direction of where you're going. Because if you're saying one thing and you're leaning into the feelings and the emotions and the kissy and the touchy, you know, and all this stuff, and you know, faith has nothing to do with anything at that point in time.
Wow.
Whatever she said, she showed in regards to like discipline, and I had to meet those parameters. You know,
If not, he was out.
yeah.
That's good though. And that comes to the that leads on to the question number 3 for y'all both, whoever wants to start. How did you guys put God in the center of your relationship? Like boyfriend, girlfriend stage in this time.
Can I answer? Okay. For me, obviously the prayer and the fasting was very important, but I think the prayer and fasting is very important, but like he said, the kissing, the touching, the making sure you guys are friends, and making sure as a woman and as a man, you both are keeping your word. That is the most important thing, because again, you will be blindsided if God says no, and y'all already made these decisions.
Yeah.
You know, and
It's hard to like kind of slip away from it.
So a lot of people do the prayer and the fasting, but then they're kissing and touching each other.
So it's just already like you already made up your mind. You just don't care.
There was no
about
point in the prayer and the fasting because you already made up your
You're
mind.
already broke. It's like a promise to God too. When you think about it, it's like you make this promise to God, saying, "God, I want a confirmation from you before I step into this relationship." That's a promise right there. So you're telling God, "God, I'm willing to pray. I'm willing to put this first and leave it in your hands before you speak." But the moment when you meet with this person, you gave it all up because of a moment of satisfaction.
Yes, and then the biggest thing is understanding that, like, yeah, you guys are like friends and stuff, but then because you put that parameter and you're like not talking for hours, the reason why that's so important is because those 30 minutes, he will value those 30 minutes with you. That's what I'm going to tell you. He's going to make sure he's going to talk to you.
So you're testing him.
He's going to make sure he talks to you. That time is quality time.
Because it's a certain time.
And you're a resource. You're a resource. So what does that mean? That means that you are scarce. They don't have open access. This is your friend. He don't have open access to you. Not all day, every day, one-on-one. No. You have 30 minutes with me. Make it. Seriously.
No,
Girls, now this is a new thing you should do. Put 30 minutes on the clock and see if your man will actually value those 30 minutes.
And then when it's time to see you, they'll open up the heavens, the stars, and the moon. Why?
They'll move heaven and
Yes, because this is the time that, remember, you're scarce. It's not a lot of time. Y'all are friends.
You're like, I got 30 minutes to talk to this
I got
girl.
30 minutes to talk to her. Exactly.
How was your day?
Yeah.
What did you like?
Yeah.
So what can I do for you?
Yes, and it was very important. So for me, it's just, again, keeping God in the middle of everything, even through friendship.
Okay.
So that example, God forbid, I knew if God said this is not the person for you, I said I will be protected. He will be protected. Why? Because we didn't invest in a different way.
Y'all didn't get attached.
In that way, we were friends.
Yeah.
Would I at that point would I miss?
It won't hurt as much.
Yeah, would I miss wishing it would be more? Maybe, but I won't break down crying
Because you guys didn't make I know
you
what
see some of those girls they be praying for,
Yeah.
then they break down and they're crying, they're depressed and disappointed. Why? Because they went above and beyond and they weren't supposed to.
And that's good because I feel like something that my parents, and my brother and my sister, everybody in my whole family, they always taught me about boundaries. They always taught me about when you ask for confirmation, you gotta stand on business. Because when you don't stand on business and you let someone to come into your life and tell you, hey, nosotros no necesitamos eso, no estamos bien.
No.
That really interrupts a lot of things. And you will go through unnecessary battles for no reason, right? So, like, I was asking, like when you guys were boyfriend and girlfriend, how were you guys were able to like have God in the center? Not only have God in the center, but how y'all were able to resist certain things, because that's something that I want them to touch. Like based on that, like I want you guys to touch on that, because there's youths that do struggle with a lot of things like lust, falling to fornication, and that happens. Move on, keep moving forward. We're not here to tell you to stay in your downfall. That's it. We just want to be able to give you more understanding and wisdom on how to be able to resist and not fall into these things. So you want to go ahead and start?
What I would tell you is, for a guy in an environment or a time like such as today, like men are needed so much because a father figure or a man fills in a mantle of authority and responsibility in a daughter or in a son. And when that mantle isn't present, that person is going to go try to find that missing puzzle piece, that gap in anything and everything, anywhere. So it's incumbent on men, on fathers to tell their daughters, how I treat your mom is an example of what you should be looking for within a man. And tell your son, and show your son, how I treat your mother and how I help hold myself is what you need to embody. So for me, it was like a lot of like trial and error. You know, there was nobody to like really guide me or teach me or show me.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this is what a woman's heart is and how you're supposed to cherish it and carry it. You know, so that's one aspect. Another aspect is one of my favorite preachers is Pastor Craig Rochelle for Life Church, and he always talks about, you know, have a plan. You know, part of like being a good leader is identifying your limitations and also your strengths and weaknesses. If I understand that I'm weak in, let's say, the area of lust, you know, where I tend to give myself more leeway or more relaxation in the areas of lust in my life, then that is not something that I can turn a blind eye to. But we live in a world today where that is not only encouraged, it's endorsed.
Yeah.
Like, you should have these things, or it's okay to like go into give into how you feel, you know, and feelings are like what's really like, you know, or narrating people today. You know, was there like moments of lust that I had for her when we were boyfriend and girlfriend, or even, you know, when we weren't even that? Like, yeah, of course.
I'm glad that you're being real.
No, again, I'm
It's
not.
like we don't want to hold it up to it.
No, it's not even that. It's like, again, I'm not trying to sell you car insurance.
Oh, of
I'm
course.
not trying to sell you anything. But the reality is that her having those parameters were very important. And then me like abiding to those rules, and, you know, like, hey, we're not going to be like alone, or hey, like we have to like be back at certain times.
And you guys were adults too,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
that's true.
And, and they were
I'm getting a
adults.
car insurance.
Now, I'm not saying you don't have to. This is the thing. I think of it like okay, I'm a youth, right? So I'm 20.
Yeah.
I can't, in my mind, I can say, yeah, I can be alone. You don't know what happens when you're alone.
No, absolutely not.
Things get out of
Absolutely
your
not.
control.
Like, let me be like very specific here. For guys, you do not give yourself an inch. You never give a guy an inch more than
Snap
what.
it up. Snap it up.
No, 'cause that's,
He's like, what's
so
happening?
yeah. I'm like, that's honestly one of the biggest things that honestly, like, women, like, if you don't have that example, then you think, okay, whatever this guy's telling me is okay, it's permissible, and that's not the case at all.
So if you give them access.
You have people that are in relationships for 10, 14 years, got family with that person, got a house, got a mortgage, got a business, got car insurance, and they're not even married.
Wow.
The girl's only engaged, or she's been engaged for 2, 5, 6, 7 years. That's not allowed.
Yeah.
You don't let a guy get away with that.
Yeah,
That's
true.
not okay, you know? So when it comes to those parameters, do not be ignorant. Do not think. Sometimes I would think, I'm like, this girl's a statue. She does not feel what I feel. I have a burning desire for fire and lust and, you know, like,
You
flesh.
should feel the same thing, you know?
No, I'm like, this woman is clearly made out of ice. You know, a statue. She does not feel. But then when openness is introduced and I allow myself to like communicate, you know, and it's like, well, I'm a human too. I have these feelings, you know.
Then it's normal to feel
Yeah,
that
so
way.
be able to communicate. Communication, yes.
It's key. No, what I was gonna say was to second on that, yes, just like him, I have emotions.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is not trusting yourself.
That's good.
That's something I don't trust I don't, just because I'm Ciara and just because I've never experienced certain things
Doesn't mean for you, yeah.
doesn't mean I'm gonna think I'm better than that. You know, so as an example, something for us is the only time we have ever came home late, and our late is 10 o'clock.
Oh yeah.
Was when I
Tell
got
me this.
engaged. When I got engaged, that was the latest we've ever been out together. Besides that, we have never been out later than that. I think our designated time was 8 o'clock.
Wow.
Yeah, and we were always out in public. We were always, you know, somebody was with us. Either we would, it was just always like that, you know.
And you would go like to public places.
All the time, all the time, and then somebody would be with us. But the point was that I don't think I'm above the sin. Just because I've never, like some people say as an example,
Like just because you never tried it, doesn't
some
mean for
people
you to put yourself in that
like some people have
position.
experienced fornication. Just because I've never fornicated doesn't mean I'm above it. So I'm gonna say, oh, let me just go and be
come on.
alone. No, that's not how that works. It's I've never fornicated. Let me make sure I keep it that way and make sure that I do everything in my power that I can control to make sure that I can control the situation and make sure that we are both safe.
That's good though, because I feel like there's a lot of youths that have that mentality where they're like guys, when I tell you they were older, they were older.
Yes.
And I'm not saying like y'all don't have to do it, but they did it because they know themselves.
Yes.
Now that's where communication comes into place. You guys gotta understand that when you're in a relationship, y'all know God, amen, glory be to God. But that doesn't mean that y'all holy.
Yeah.
Because this is the thing, people think that just having God in the center, they can do whatever they want to do. And to be honest, you can do whatever you want to do. Because there are areas that you have to work in, right? Like let's say, for example, the lust. You have weaknesses, right? Everyone has a weakness, right? Yeah. So if you know that you're weak in this area, and if you know that if you put yourself in that position, you're gonna fall, don't allow it. Tell yourself, oh, you know what? I think next time we should do it with somebody else. We should go out with somebody else. You know? Because I feel like it will be more comfortable for me.
But also as a woman, something funny is this. I thought of it this way. If I go alone with him, and let's just say we're boyfriend and girlfriend, I go alone with him, and we're both ministers, right? I'm going to say, wait a second. He's going to think that I've been alone with all the other guys. That's another thing. Like, you can't, like, if it's something common, what's the first thing a person thinks when it's common? Oh, they do this with everybody. They just throw everybody to go in the room alone.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. And to be honest, I'm not here to judge you or nothing because we're here to judge righteously. All right. But I don't think it's okay to be in a room with someone with the door closed too.
Exactly.
Because one thing that I can say is that my mom and my dad this is what they would tell me. When you get into a relationship with whoever, you know well that I'm not keeping you in that room alone. Yeah. And yes, have the door open. Fine. I'm going to walk past by y'all to see what y'all doing. But this is the thing. I know you because you're my daughter. And I know you because you're my son. And I know that y'all can battle with this. And you know what's crazy is that, and I'm glad that my parents are like that. You know, my parents are really not that strict. They're strict in some areas. But I'm glad they're strict in areas that I need to be, you know, like put into line because I don't know what could happen. And I don't want to commit the same mistakes that they committed when they were in the world. You know, I don't want to go through that. So, you know, I asked that question to you guys because it's just hard for people to put God first. When you really think about it and you guys go through temptations, think about it as like, okay, God first. God first. This I went through this situation, but God is first. Yes, my relationship is there, but God is first. So when you put your mind into like if you set your mind like that, oh, I'm in the middle of, you know, feeling warm or feeling this type of way. It's getting heated in here. God first. God first. Remember the covenant. God first. And I put it like that for me because it kind of stops me. It's like, oh, remember the promise.
But what would you have done if you, like, as an example, this is something that a lot of you don't realize it. I'll give you an example. Let's just say hypothetically speaking, as a youth, you decided you wanted to, I don't know, make out with the person you were dating, go and hide and mess around. Do you know what happens when you get married? You start to doubt if this is right.
Oh, wow.
So now you're making more complications for yourself. That's why doing it right is so important. Because you don't want, when you get married, to then have the doubt like, did I really do this right? Is he really the one? Because we did mess around a little bit. We got confirmed, but we did do this and we did do that. So you want to make sure for your sake, for your sanity. That's something, I don't know how some people do it, but for my sanity, I needed my confirmation
to feel right.
And it had to be right. Because if it's not right, imagine, even if it was confirmed, right? And y'all are messing around, when hard times come and you get married, you'll be sitting down saying, yeah, God, like, and this is between you and God by yourselves. It will be, nobody else will know, but it'll just be you and God, and you'll say, I did get the confirmation, but nobody knows that we messed around.
Wow.
I did get the confirmation, but nobody knows what we were doing when.
That's like, Wow, that really blew my mind.
Yeah.
That really blew my mind.
So this is between you and God, and you have to, those parameters are so you can be confident, because there's going to be a time where maybe some people might say, I'm not for that marriage. Well, guess what? Your confirmation and your relationship with God, it has to be solid. So when people do come or something happens, you're not doubting. You're like, you know what? Dios me dijo, yo me quedo con esto.
So I have a question also. So, like, if you want to go ahead, you can answer. So do you believe that God can restore relationships?
That God can restore a relationship. So when you're talking about restoration in terms of a boyfriend and girlfriend relationship, if there are red flags for behavior that's not edifying, encouraging, or lifting you up, then what are we doing here? Then based on that posture of the question, it almost seems that like, hey, am I trying to do this more than God? Because I want this relationship more, even though things aren't working and working and working.
Wow.
You're praying for something that's not established or being established or being worked on. If you have somebody or relationship and you know change isn't happening between them or you, or healing hasn't happened between things that have occurred in their life, or they haven't moved past certain things and stuff like that, you're not their savior. You know, God can work within them to save them and heal them, you know, and establish things in their life. That's God's job, not yours.
Yes.
You know, so in a relationship, in a marriage, what God brought together, let nobody set apart. You know, in a boyfriend and girlfriend, God didn't bring you guys in a covenant, in a marriage. You guys, that's the time for you guys to know each other. You know, go
before
through
y'all step into that
final level of commitment.
Yeah.
You know, but if that person, you know, isn't fitting it, bye. You know, like, and that's honestly something.
Bye.
No. That's honestly, like, for me, I can definitely attest to that. I had like a fear in like my early 20s when, or even my late teens, where I'm like, you know, am I ever gonna find love? You know, like for me, the world seemed like a deep ocean. Like, I don't know what's out there behind that rift.
Yeah.
You know, it could be danger. It could be, you know, what I really felt was just loneliness. You know, so the majority of the time, like, what pushes relationships to this like unknown is like, well, you know, I don't know what's going to happen, but I do know if I don't have somebody, I'm just going to be alone. Yeah. You know? So for me, I don't believe in like God restoring this relationship between like boyfriend and girlfriend. If it's going to work out, it's going to work itself out. You don't have to start breaking your back, working
projects.
So like, you know, this isn't a construction site. That you yourself have to start being the project
That is not an experiment, like, for you to figure out if it's going to work.
You're not the project manager for this construction site, for this person, the relationship, or yourself, to try to make things and work their way out. That's not, no, that's not how it's supposed to be.
You shouldn't be having to force yourself to make
something work. Because that's good, because I feel like sometimes youths, when they see like a relationship going downhill and the other person is not willing to work it out, they try to drag like that person and try to fix them. And I do believe that God could restore, but I do believe that you have to put that in God's hands because there are certain things that you can't control.
But here's my other question for you. If it's restored, let's just say it's restored, then what ends up happening is again, you have to be okay when you get married and there's problems and this person starts to, you know, that's you want to start off on a good foot where there are no doubts, there are no questions. You want to start off on that good foot. Good. You know, you want this person to respect your boundaries. You want to make sure, if you feel like you need when I was just backtracking, when I was praying with somebody in my college, I remember too fast. It was like I had a ball and chain on my leg. And I'm like, okay, come on, let's fast. Come on, let's pray. They didn't want to. Yeah. If you're starting off like that, that's a problem. Because that's a construction site for me.
Yeah. No, that's too much.
That's too much. And he was a pastoral major. You know?
Wow.
And so
saying, didn't want that.
But saying this, that's why I say for like all the females, it's like, if you have to push this, like, and you guys are not even married, if you have to push this person to do that.
I do agree with you because I feel like you saying that, like, trying to restore something and then later on in the marriage, you have a lot of like confusion in some areas. You're like, wow, was this actually the person that God wanted me to have? So I like that. But you guys do believe that God can restore marriages?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right.
That's a
Wanna make
covenant.
sure.
That's a final.
Because that's a promise.
Yeah.
That's a
Yes.
promise that the Lord has allowed you guys to step into together. And
Yeah.
He has to find a way to
Listen.
work it out. Because it goes against with His word, which is divorce. So that's why God needs to work it out. Now, there's some certain things that we already know that.
Look, yeah,
Yeah,
I would
so-
say like to alleviate, some bad relationships. It's like I know like too many girls invest or stay in a relationship because the amount of time that's already been invested.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is like, hey, that's not even your man's. That's not your boyfriend. That's not your. You know what I'm saying? It's not even you're not your husband. Your husband.
Yeah.
You're in this relationship with. If like when I was in the Marine Corps, like somebody's injured, you put them on your back. And so like they can get better. You can get them like first aid. If this is my partner, if I'm wounded, she's treating me. If she's wounded, I'm treating her.
Yeah.
We have the durability and the strength to go through these things because of our relationship.
That's true.
But when you're a boyfriend and girlfriend,
It's more of a like
Brittle,
you
crack,
could
and
leave
break.
the next day and I could stay or not. So now, last question. And this is gonna be short. Okay.
Sure.
Love you guys, but I'm tired. I have a headache. It's kind of like one right here. Okay. Last question is going to be, what do youth, adults, or couples need to understand when it comes to being in a godly relationship? So let me explain. Okay, there are things that you can't change in a person unless God can. So me and Ciara, we spoke about this. Now I want you to tell me what you think about that, and yeah.
So can you elaborate more on that?
So let's say, for example, I'm married, and my man has a problem when it comes to approaching, right, and how to solve situations. Like, let's say, for example, like an argument or something, right? So it's hard for him to approach. So the first thing that he does is like, okay, I don't care. Like, stop. Like, I don't want to talk about it. Those are certain things that people struggle with. And it's hard for you to change that in a person. So you have to maintain it in prayer. You got to keep it in prayer for God to work in that person. So there are things to work on, and there are things that you can't work on. Like, it's out of your control. It's only God that has to work in it.
Yeah. So
I hope that was a good example.
and what I'm gonna say is that anybody is capable of change.
Yes.
Then, if not, then why even go to the cross? Why even why did God send His Son? For the ultimate sacrifice of selflessness.
Yeah.
For everybody to receive a second chance or the gift of salvation. So everybody has the ability to change. Now, the journey to change is depicted on that person and what they want to change. So if I'm doing something in my marriage that my wife is not a fan of, or
It's affecting her.
it's affecting her, it's affecting the relationship, it's affecting my relationship with God, whatever the case may be, and she's already expressed that, then her job is to pray, right? And then my job is to hear her, right? And work on it.
Here, listen. Listen. No, snap it up.
No, that sounds a lot easier. That sounds, change is difficult.
Yeah, it is.
If you've been doing like something the same way year in, year out, especially if you've developed a perpetually bad habit, and that's part now of your life, change is difficult, but it's not impossible.
That's true.
You want to change ultimately because of, your spouse.
Yeah.
But ultimately you should want to change for yourself.
That's true.
And
You don't want to see a one-sided too.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, like, this is your relationship with God. And throughout the years, I think within the last, like, 3 or 4 years, I've come to realize what that really means.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that at the end of the day, you know, whether she's in my life or not, God forbid, then I still have to live with a life of dignity and respect, not only for others, but for myself. And that's something that, you know, is difficult to do at times, because you know, the first step is, you know, to surrender yourself to Christ.
Yes,
Surrender
that's right.
yourself, like saying that, hey, that there's things that I'm doing that I don't like, that I have to surrender to God. And then when you do that, you give God permission to dwell within your heart, you know, and then remove all the trash and all the gunk, all the habits, all the old character stuff away. That way, he can dwell within you.
That's true.
You know, so if there's things that you're doing, you know, your spouse prays, but ultimately you see the effects of what you're doing, not only within other people, your spouse, but also within yourself. Because then at the end of the day, you look yourself in the mirror, you're alone, and you have to be alone with what you just did.
Wow,
Those
that's
emotions and guilt and shame, you know, are
true. Comes into the...
the byproducts of that. You know.
So that's good, because I asked you guys that question because it's like kind of like there's like, it was me, right? Before, I used to have this thing where there's, and I think Ciara knows because she knows my problems sometimes, not all the time. I keep it in God's hands. But it's like there was moments where I'll be like, oh, Ciara, like, why this isn't working out? I'm trying to make it work out.
Yeah.
Like I keep trying to say something, but it's not working out. And sometimes you don't have to tell the person twice. Just say it once, keep it in prayer.
Yeah.
And that's what she would tell me. She was like,
absolutely.
say it, pray it.
Yeah.
Say it, pray it. And when you leave it in God's hands, it gives a time for the other person to think and be like, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
Am I doing something wrong here? And if the person is really looking for the Lord and they seek God, they will have conviction from God.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's the part that I want you guys to understand.
Yeah.
If you keep repeating yourself over and over again, because I'm telling you guys by experience from my past relationships, all right? Why I say not even relationships. I had one before. I had one relationship in my past. Didn't work out because I kept repeating myself. Now, if you keep repeating yourself and you keep praying about it and the person is not even getting conviction, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
There is something wrong with that person's life when it comes to their spiritual life.
Yeah.
Because it can't just be you. It can't just be you. And that's where, like, I honestly, this is really impactful to me because I was able to learn.
Yeah.
I had to learn on how to not approach to things quickly. I had to think before I speak and then go right ahead.
Yeah.
Because that's what a wise woman does.
Yeah.
She has to be understanding, right? She has to be submissive, the Bible says. She is fragile, right?
Yeah.
A woman is fragile. That's why the man has to be, you know, understanding when it comes to the woman.
Yeah.
You know, even the Bible says it, and that doesn't mean that the woman is like, you know, easy to be like broken. No. It's just the woman is different. You know, she thinks differently. Sometimes the woman overthinks. She feels like she's not good enough. But that's where the man comes in to place, and he has to bring reassurance because you're here to lead, right? So,
and then, sorry, one more thing, if I may. A woman, yes, she's supposed to be submissive, but she's not a doormat.
yes, thank you.
You know, and
Thank
then
you.
for the guy too.
Why you're laughing?
No,
It's funny.
no, yeah, it's
But it's
seriously
true.
because
It's so true.
it could literally feel like that. At
Yeah,
times,
it does.
You know, with your words or your behavior or your mannerisms, it could feel by how a man is behaving that there's like, you feel like you're, you know, metaphorically stomping or stepping on somebody, you know, where you make them feel lesser, you know. And then for a guy, his job is to love his wife as Christ loved
The church.
the church, and he did what he died, he sacrificed. So for men, we are perpetually called to die, to sacrifice for our wives on a regular basis, to
That's
be
right.
selfless to our wives.
And also to end it off with here, with this question, for men, right? What is an advice for young men of God there, or even a man of God that's older? What is an advice to tell them that it's okay to be like sensitive in a way, sensitive and a little bit more emotional?
It's okay not to be okay.
Thank you.
It is okay not to be okay. Just because, I'm telling you, like for men, and men don't realize the power they have just by their presence.
Thank you.
You know,
Yes.
like wherever you go, men have a mantle of authority. And I can't express that enough. You have responsibility, you have your power by your presence. And sorry, I lost my train of thought. What's the question?
I know.
Literally, like I lost it.
saw you were struggling.
Yeah, no. Like I
Oh,
literally, I had like a brain
The
fart.
question was,
if it's okay for the man to be emotional.
It's okay not to be okay because, like I said, now I remember, because you have this mantle of authority. At times, you feel like you have to be something that you're quote unquote not.
Yeah.
Or because a lot that gap of fatherhood has such an impact on both the daughter and the son. You know, they try to look for the father figure that they never had.
Yeah, and
So-
that's actually true too. Like, there are men that are out there, like, and it's true. I have like spoken to youths. It could be like male or female. Sometimes I will have the opportunity. They would text me on Instagram and ask me questions. And most of the males that are out there that say, "Hey Ruth, like I never had a father figure, and I don't know how to like act this way or how to be emotional." And of course they're asking the wrong person because I'm a woman.
Yeah.
But I take it into account and I'm like, okay, well, it's hard for a youth to be, a man when there's no father figure in the house.
Yeah.
To be able to show them how to be a father and how to be, emotional, how to be strict when it comes to this, and you know what I mean? So there's different roles.
Yeah. You show the behavior that was, the example in your house.
Yeah.
So like if yelling and screaming, at home, what the dad was doing to try to express himself, that's what the kid's gonna do.
Yeah, they're gonna do it.
So, to go back to the question, for a guy, it's okay not to be okay, and it's essential for you to say that I'm not okay. A lot of the times, like, we don't know how to say that.
Yeah.
And we don't know how to say, like, hey, I'm not okay right now. That you have to have like this front of stability and strength and virtue or posture, whatever the case is, and we enable like, speaking about vulnerability and emotions as a form at times of weakness.
Yeah.
Now, that stuff is for the girls. Their girls are always emotional. The girls are always talking about
when they don't even understand why.
Yeah, but it's crazy because you're gonna marry one of those.
Yeah.
you're gonna marry one of those.
He's like, you're gonna marry one of those.
So it's just like, like the girl is the emotional one. The girl is the one that's dealing with like all the emotions and stuff like that. Yeah. But then it's like, okay, so when you commit yourself and it's supposed to be selfless perpetually to somebody else that you're bonded with, how do you speak that language of selflessness and love to that person when all they speak is like emotion?
Yeah. Sure.
So it's like, hey, it's okay not to be okay. You don't always have to be strong all the time. And how to communicate with that, you don't have to have some elaborate sentence or fancy words.
Just say, I'm not okay, I don't feel right.
And then the second question will be like, well, why are you not okay? And then like step by step, question by question, you start realizing who you are and the things that have been pushed up in the closet of your heart that you chose not to deal with.
Yeah. So that's good. And is there any advice that you can give for the ladies that are out there that it's okay to be sensitive? It's okay to be emotional. because sometimes it's hard for the girl to be emotional due to the fact that there are some men that I don't know how to explain it. I think you guys know what I'm
No, I
trying to say.
understand. Like if for a young lady, if she's in an environment where it's difficult for her to open up, then it's in like a place where you don't feel safe.
Yeah, you're not secure yet.
Where you feel you have to be like invisible or tiny, you know?
Yeah. So, what do you want to think about that?
I think if you feel like you have to be like, if you can't express yourself and you're in a relationship, then I think that's a problem.
Yes.
That's a problem.
And how can you break that? How can you approach that person and say, hey, I don't feel like I can be myself to you because this is what you showed me, and it kind of limits me from it.
You have to speak their language and give examples of what they understand.
Yeah.
And that was like the
Because they
biggest
can take it
thing.
the wrong way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the biggest examples is like I noticed like with my husband, it sounds
Yeah,
bad
Lord.
and he kind of hates it, but I have to speak in the language he knows. So it sounds crazy, but I would have to speak in like
In a certain way for him to
The-
understand.
Like metaphors.
like metaphors
It's okay,
of
that's
his
okay.
job.
Yeah.
So if it's like the Marine Corps, I would say, hey, this person's here and this person's here. And I'll use those examples so that he can understand. Because if I use my female example, he didn't get it.
He's not gonna
He
understand.
wouldn't understand.
It.
So
You know, it's like
yeah. Yeah. If I say
Like, no.
exactly.
It's not gonna work.
If I say, hey, it's like you're not listening to me. But if I say the example of, hey, this is my rank and this is your rank, and I just ignore it, now how does that come
Yes.
off? It comes off crazy, right?
So you saying that? Okay, I'm gonna end it off with here. I'm sorry, guys.
Wait.
It's a really interesting
Wait,
conversation.
before you say one thing, there's one more thing I just want to say,
Okay.
which is the purpose of a marriage. And it's gonna sound, and it's kind of like a preparation for you.
I'm so hungry.
I know it's a preparation. Okay, wait, it's a preparation for you. But the point is like once you get married, it's to make you holier. So
Yes.
some things are gonna come out.
Oh yes.
Yes.
When you're even now when you're like getting to know somebody, some of this stuff that's coming out of you that you're like a lot of it is to make you holier. That's why it's happening.
Okay.
It's happening. So
That
like
makes
let's just
sense.
say you're like I talk this way and I sound like I'm screaming, right? Como un ejemplo. Well, guess what? You can't talk to everybody like that. And mamá decir, let's just say like somebody sees you, they're gonna think you're screaming at your spouse.
Yeah.
So you gotta.
You have to tone it down.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is to make you holier. So that's the purpose. People think, para moral,
But you see,
but it's to bring holiness.
People are stubborn in that area though because people be like, "That's who I am."
yeah.
No.
That's stubborn.
No,
That's
that's
stubborn.
an excuse.
That's an excuse.
That's an excuse because I've dealt with like too many people that are like that. And you can be a Christian for 20-something plus
Yep.
years, and you're like, oh well, you know, my character, mi carácter, I
That's
am the way
not-
I am. You know, like I'm just gonna say the way I want to say. Absolutely not. Because what that reveals to me, a level of immaturity within your spiritual relationship
Yeah.
with God, that you have not allowed Him to take
Yeah.
residence in that area of your life
Yep.
that is, you know, an area of difficulty. No, that's wrong. When you allow
Yeah.
God into your life, that's every aspect.
That's what I learned, and I'm not saying nothing because people are gonna be like, oh. But that's what I'm learning, you know. And I'm gonna be honest with you, it has allowed me to flourish. in some areas.
Yeah.
Because before I used to be like, I think this way. What's the problem?
Yeah.
And in that
We've
moment,
all
the
done
person
that.
will humble
Yes.
me down and say,
We've all done
"You
that.
think that way? I don't think that way.
Exactly.
Wow.
You gotta fix it a little bit."
Exactly.
And that, you know, when the person does it to me, I'm like, oh, okay, you're doing it wrong in that area. You see, I don't think that way. I think differently. And if the person, and that's the powerful part when it comes to a godly relationship, when you see each other and you guys talk about what needs to be fixed in this area,
Yeah.
and how can we get to that goal, then that's how you know it's something. There's something from the Lord.
Yeah.
Because if you guys can work with each other, if y'all can mold each other, if y'all can even have a conversation
Yeah.
based on something that's wrong and something that's not going right, yeah, that is going to the right direction. All right.
Yeah.
Now, if the person's like, "This is who I am, bro. I'm sorry if you don't like it, take it or leave it."
Stop getting mad.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna leave it. I will not take it. I'm gonna leave it for you. So it's like I ask those things because people think that it's okay for a person to say, that's who I am, and that's not okay.
For you to
Because
settle.
you can go to God, go to God and say,
Yeah.
look, this is so funny. You can go to God and say, God, I cast down in your name, I prophesize. That's who I am. That's who I am. Depart from me, evildoer. If that's who you are, go. Because you're telling, not only that you're telling the person that you don't care, but you're also telling God that, yeah, I'm prideful. I'm prideful. You're not going to change areas in me.
Yeah.
And you need to let God work in you. And if you're that type of person, woman and men, right, that are going through that situation where you're like, that's who I am, that means you're not meant for a relationship right now. Work on yourself. Work on yourself before you give the heavy weight to another person.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm supposed to be the queen. Okay? I'm supposed to be the queen. You're supposed to get my shoe and return it back to me. Right? So that when you return it back to me, I see that there's something going on here. This person is willing to fight for me, and I'm willing to fight for this person. But thank you so much for you guys being a part of this
Thanks for having
amazing
us.
Yeah.
podcast video. It was a long but interesting conversation because I can also relate in some areas, and I can be able to like learn things from them. You know, I know God is gonna do great things with them, and I know that the Lord is gonna allow a big church in their life to come because they have a pastoral ministry as well that I do believe that they have. And yes, guys, so thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys, go ahead and follow their social medias. He doesn't have social media, but one day he will. One day he will, because he will be a pastor.
We'll see.
But go follow Sierra on her social medias. They're all going to be in the description box. And yes, guys, I will see you guys next time with a new podcast video. Bye.